Well, I noticed Rebecca had
Being
finished
cynical.
hers.
Yeah, I'm pouring tiny, like little tiny.
Which is
Oh, it's the one we've all been waiting for.
It's the Ardbeg.
Yeah, Ardbeg is my new. This is my new favorite. Like
really?
Lefroy used to be my favorite. Ardbeg now currently is my new favorite. And I have a couple bottles up there. One of them that Andrew gave me.
The Corey Brecken, I think.
Corey Brecken, and I have the Ugadal. Those are both great.
Such good standard fare.
I actually have never had the standard just 10-year Ardbeg. So
I mean, just like the 10-year Lefroy, it's an excellent entry into the marketplace here. It's a 10-year-old, 46%. You don't get a lot of information about what's in it.
Well, I have a little bit of info on my box.
Yes.
It says sea spray.
Oh.
That's Terry rope.
Terry rope.
Tarry
rope.
Tarry. Terry
is it
rope.
tarry rope? Would it be
Tarry?
Tarry is like a rope that's like covered in tar, like a seaside.
Yes, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That was
wow. And then immense smoky intensity. I'm already excited.
You're sold. Had me at smoky.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna unbox it.
I think you're gonna like this one. Yeah, Ardbeg is my new favorite. I still love Lefroy, but Ardbeg's my new favorite.
What a nice surprise! There's a sweet little dog inside.
He's the mascot.
He's called Shorty, the pettiest nose on Islay, apart from Ardbeg. That is. Oh, did you meet him on your last trip?
No, he's deceased. He was a real dog.
He still is a real dog. Just yeah.
His atoms are.
Hey, I'm pulling it out. Look at that. Pretty nice.
It's a gorgeous bottle.
Can't destroy anything. You just rearrange it.
If I ever finish the 3 bottles you guys sent me, I'll put them under the floorboards before we finish the attic.
Yes, full circle.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
That could be fun. And I guess I have to put one from 1912 and then one from 2020.
Yeah, it'll be like a Scotch bottle time capsule.
I dig it. A friend of mine in Toronto renovated his bathroom, and before he put the floor down, he managed to, I don't know where he bought this, but he found a whole bunch of 70s gay porn magazines, and he put them in the floorboards under the bathroom. But I love the investment in the long-term gag. No pun intended. Okay. Oh. There we go. Okay, this is in your grandma's glass.
Mm-hmm.
What else do I need to know about this before I taste it? Anything?
Ooh. Wow.
Ardbeg's a beautiful distillery. They just installed 2 new spirit stills and 2 new mash stills. So they've doubled their capacity, or tripled if they're going to keep the old stills running as well. It's on the south coast of Islay, along with Lagavulin and Lefroy. You can walk between them. It's about a 2-mile walk, a mile between each one.
Oh, really?
And a new distillery opening in Port Ellen very shortly, or reopening in Port Ellen very shortly. So there'll be 4 along the south coast, and there's actually plans for a 5th one if zoning and everything else goes okay for them.
So I'm noticing, and I'm only saying this because I just was doing show and tell with the old bottles, and the one had the year on it, 1912, that none of these actually say anywhere what year they were bottled. Right. Do we not do that anymore?
There's a lot less age statements on whiskey these days, simply because they didn't prepare for the boom. Like, they couldn't have predicted how popular Scotch would be, 10 years from when they were making all this stuff. So they're running out of the older stock, and so the people are starting to say, well, it doesn't matter if the whiskey's good, the age is unimportant. And a lot of the peated whiskeys anyways are better in, the 5 to 10 year range.
But it's like a status symbol sort of a thing to be like, oh, I've got like a 20-year, got my 20-year McKellen or whatever. I've got my, but that doesn't, it doesn't mean it's better. It just means it's more expensive, really.
Yeah.
It may have mellowed in that time, it's taken more time in the cask. It's evaporated more. The alcohol's gone down, so the taste might be more concentrated. Who knows?
So you made a bit of a face, Rebecca. Is this?
Yeah.
Is it the shape of the glass? Because I feel like you probably would get a large. It's hard not to get a large sip with that, I would think.
No, I think it's just more that, and it wasn't necessarily a bad face. It was just like an overwhelmed and surprised face that. God, I hate myself for talking this way. It's got a real complicated palate to it.
Mm-hmm. That's
I get a bit like, I'll be honest, I get a bit blue collar, like cynical about the like, it smells like butterscotch and, you know, all of
what
that.
I like to do
but
is
it actually is kind of true.
But what I like to do is build a house inside the glass. That's what I like to do. Is like I went, because when I really love a scotch, I'm like, I want to climb inside this glass and live there. And then I'm like, what sort of house would it be if I was living inside of it? And like this, I feel like would be like a small stone cottage by the coast. With like some fish drying racks out front, and I think you'd be smoking some stuff inside. You'd be smoking various meats and fishes inside, and yeah, that's what I, you know.
Now, to my very sophomoric palate, I feel like this might be one that Andrew, and you guide me. I feel like this might be one that would benefit for a couple of drops of water just to like soften it a bit. Maybe
it may do. It may do. You can certainly try anytime you want. If you're not experiencing something you love right now, give it a shot.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a gamble. Like I like it. Sometimes I will guess what's going to happen when I put water in, and I will be right. Sometimes I will be wrong.
Okay, I put 2 drops. 2 drops.
Okay. Did you clean your fingers before you did that?
Yes, I did. No, I had like a wet rag where you can't see it. Yeah. But I don't know. Listen, maybe the dust of 108 years will help it.
Oh, if only we had 108-year-old dust here to put into ours. You should send some of that to us.
I was right.
It helps.
Smoothed it out.
I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to science.
And so it moved the experience from the front of my tongue and being burny. It kind of moved it to the back of my tongue, and made it softer. Is that fair to say?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely mellows out the nose.
So can you, one of you talk to me about the shape of the proper Scotch glass? Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, this is called the Glencairn glass, and it is meant to have a large surface area of the whiskey, but then it funnels it up towards your nose, so you get a lot of aroma.
So that it's concentrating
for the tasting. And it's got this nice little tab on the bottom, so you can hold it and really see the whiskey.
Well, you can see the whiskey
while you're listening.
But I'm also guessing, I'm only guessing that when you hold it by that you're also, your hand is not heating the Scotch. You know what I mean? Like the reason that a white wine glass has that long stem is because you don't want to heat it. But red wine, it's meant to sit in your hand and be warmed up a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you sensed that I do have warm hands.
For sure.
Because he has a cold heart. Warm hands, cold heart, right? Isn't that the...
Yeah. That's the effort.
I've never really understood that.
It's just a bullshit phrase.
Yeah.
What's to understand?
Yeah,
so tell us about the painting behind you, Rebecca.
Yes, this looks like it's by the same...
painting behind me, this was done by my boyfriend's mom, who is actually a wonderful painter. And you can't really tell by looking at it, but it's sort of this oceany...
It looks like waves to me.
Yeah, thing, but she's also like, there's also crushed up like crystals glued onto it. She's a bit of a white witch.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we have that painting, and then yeah, I hope so. She has some amazing paintings that I would love, but we also have piles of rocks and crystals around the house, many of which were given to us by her, just to like increase the vibration of the house. You guys are in Los Angeles. I'm not saying anything that like isn't happening across the hall from your apartment.
It sounds totally normal.
If not in your apartment.
This doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. It's very compelling though. I like the colors.
Isn't it beautiful? And it's framed in a really interesting way. Like it's a bit of a shadow boxy kind of thing with like velvet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like the dark and then the light border. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
So can we talk about Mimi? Can we talk about that show that you do that is so amazing and wonderful? And
is it a lot? Is it
the character?
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about it. It's weird. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. I like.
That's why I'm asking. I don't want to force you to talk about it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Well, because normally it's a live show, right? Called Blind Date, and I just make a face about it because it's this live show where every night we bring a different guy from the audience up on stage, a civilian, but just like filter that through your current like COVID ears. We bring a stranger on stage every night. We get really close to them. Sometimes I make out with them. And there's a lot of laughs along the way. So maybe that show will never happen ever again.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I wonder if I'm ever going to perform in front of a live audience again. Like that is the thought that's gone through my head.
No, you will. 100%. Now, where you will do that, how many people you will do that.
Will there be a plexiglass wall between us?
Maybe, who knows? You know,
whether I'll be a hologram or not.
Oh, I hope you are a hologram.
Listen. We all have the same level of fear around live performance. Theater's been around forever, and theater has survived many a plague. It will come back. It might not look like what it has always looked like.
I'm wondering now.
Let me say this about artists, is that restriction breeds innovation.
Yeah, that's true.
It will push us to be better.
Like right now, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about someone should create a VR theater where, but not just where you are sitting like in your VR space in the audience, not attached, but where the laughter and the vocalizations of the audience can be broadcast.
Yes.
To everybody and to the performer. And
we need to hear all of that.
So you need a sound technician who's a genius. Yes, who's like filtering the audience. You know, it's like if there's some loud asshole, you just shut them off. But everybody else, the laughter, because that's part of it, that connection. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that I want to. There's someone to create a VR theater experience.
But here's the thing. But this is what I'm saying. Like we're in a world now where suddenly maybe we do need that. So let's circle back to the geeks of the world. Now's your time. Step up.
Andrew and
program us that very thing where I, the performer who's sitting at home in front of my crystal painting, can hear the 500 people who are watching. Yeah. So there's this really interesting thing going on where it's like I'm performing live to my laptop and it feels a bit empty and lonely at the moment. But at the same time, if I'm the kind of performer who looks off to the side and goes, shit, 400 people are watching me. In a live scenario, I wouldn't sell that many tickets. Now, they might only be there for 6 minutes and then they cut and run. But in a live audience who has paid to be there, they might really only tune in and out every 6 minutes because that's also what happens with people's attention spans.
Right. They remember the mortgage. They remember the kids at home
what do I have to do tomorrow? Right. They've like, it's kind of not an interesting part in your live performance. Let me make my to-do list. I mean, that's always
there are
happening
also
anyway.
Very loyal viewers for shows like that. Like I have a friend who watches Joe Bob Briggs and like, on Friday nights, she's like, don't call me. I'm watching Joe Bob Briggs and I'm here and I'm talking to the people in the chat and we're all having a community and we're all like, and I don't want to be disturbed by anything,
That's
it's like,
great.
And so there are loyal viewers for all of the stuff,
That's amazing.
Critical Role is like the people who do like D&D online, like they're huge, it's like they have a huge community of people called critters. And those are their people and they're loyal and there's thousands of them.
And the thing is then, my heart is in live performance. I want to be in the same room with everybody. But
the energy is amazing. Yeah.
The energy is amazing. But here's what doesn't happen, generally speaking, in live performance. People don't come back every Saturday to see your live show. That's I mean, maybe you have improv fans. It's different. Like, because I also work in regular scripted theater, like people aren't like, wow, that cherry orchard was great. Let's come back next Friday. Like they're not doing that.
Maybe they'll go take a different take on it, or
maybe it'll be an apple orchard this week. I don't know.
Maybe Friday will be different if that's not what's happening. But in the world of what's happening online, if it's a show that's hosted by a character or it's slightly different or it's improv, maybe you will have regular viewers. That's exciting. Yeah. So to come back around, Andrew, to your question about Mimi and Blind Date, Blind Date, the live show is parked, but I've taken the character out of necessity. But I've taken that character on the internet, and now every Friday, Mimi's having these online conversations with actors. I mean, in the live performance, I would never choose an actor. but it's actually been kind of great.
And you just had Tom Fiore on the show.
I just had Column.
Is it Column? Is it
Column? It's Column.
Column Fiore?
Yeah, Column Fiore. It's very
I always
Irish.
thought it was Calm Fiore.
Everyone thinks it's calm. It's not. It's column like the pillar, not calm like the
I haven't watched the episode yet, but I'm a huge fan of his, but clearly not enough to know his name properly.
He is a wonderful human being. So is it a good piece of theater? Is it a good piece of internet entertainment? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put a ton of fretting into it. So for me, it's like, it's this character. She's having a conversation with another human for an hour. You can eavesdrop.
For the two shows that I saw, I thought it was delightful. And,
Thanks.
And I think all the work that you've put into the character it doesn't translate perfectly into that medium, but
not really.
But a lot of it does, and it's like it's like having just a charming, engaging person. It means so much in this day and age where everybody is like, I don't have time for you. Like I don't know. It's just really nice. I think I'm a hard sell. Like, I don't watch anybody's shows. I don't watch anyone's shows. I don't watch my own shows. I can't watch people do improv. I can't do it. I hate it.
No.
And I'm a monster that way. It's like, and I don't, but you know what? I don't expect people to watch my shows either. I'm like, you don't have to come to my shows.
Oh, no.
I don't care if you come to my shows. But yeah, and I was really engaged and entertained by it. So
I'm so glad. I mean, the one rule, because it's with actors, and I never state it on camera, but I do say to the guests, the one rule is, because you're an actor, we're not going to talk about your acting. I don't want to talk about your career. I don't want to talk about the movie you did or your TV series or whatever live show. You talk about that in every interview, or we can Google it. But I do want to know if you believe in God. I do want to know if you're a parent. Like, do you believe in spanking? And I don't really care what the answer is. I'm just curious about it.
Yeah. Human connections.
Yeah, and
human connections.
I've never seen Blind Date live. I did see you do Legend Has It, and the most remarkable thing about it, the genius about it, is making
Northan.
Oh, come on.
She's such a Rebecca Northan.
My own work. It didn't work. It doesn't work. I hate my own show. Anyway, we can talk about that in a minute.
But the magic of it is that you took these people out of the audience, just ordinary people, and you make them great improvisers by making honesty the currency by which they can gain things in the story. And it's just this genius observation. And I wish improvisers could see that, and beginning improvisers could see that and go, oh, being honest actually is of value. It actually creates a better story. It creates a more interest from the audience.
Look, I think being honest makes your job as an improviser 1,000 times easier. I don't have to invent something interesting. The truth of your own life is more interesting than anything you will ever make up, ever.
Yeah, and that's why I love when Mimi does reveal stuff. It's really your past coming out through
100%.
Mimi, which is wonderful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, it's in part because I'm lazy. I'm like, I don't want to invent stuff. I just want to tell the truth.
I think at their heart, all improvisers are lazy. I really do. I feel like that is.
I don't want to memorize anything.
I don't want to memorize anything.
No, please, you have to stop saying that, because my partner, he hates improv. And he's an actor, and he says to me, there is a lot to hate, but he will say to me, he's like, improvisers, you mean lazy actors that don't want to learn lines?
Okay, but I do want to say this. Like improvisers are lazy from a certain point of view, but there is something about that where it's like, we want to rely on the work that we've done for fucking decades. It's like, I've already worked on these skills. I don't need you to fucking help me prepare, because I've fucking honed these skills so that I don't have to prepare that. And so let me do that. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
that's expertise, right? That's your 10,000 hours.
Because there's a lot of confrontation between people who are producers or writers or whatever, and they're trying to work with improvisers. And it's like, we want to put you, make sure this is good. And it's like, well, if you just, stick the camera on me and give me good people, I will make sure it's good. That's all you need to do.
Well, you will, but there's still, in the world of improvisation, if you're talking about improvisation on camera, there's a high degree of failure, which is part of what makes improvisation thrilling. But, if I'm the cigar smoking producer who's like, it's costing me $10,000 a minute, and you just failed for 6 minutes in a row, I understand the fear and the fury.
Figure out a way to like work with that rather than trying like taking away the improv. It's like Whose Line Is It Anyway? They film like hours of stuff and they cut out just the funny stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Figure out a way to make that part of the thing.
But I do wish that they would put like a little bit of their failure out there, because if you edit out all of the failure, then what you release to the world is only success. So it looks like 100% success, and that's not true. And also that's not human. So, you know, in the live show of Legend Has It or Blind Date or what have you, we've been lucky enough to navigate ourselves into mainstream theater. But the only reason for that is what we do is highly structured. So I can guarantee a minimal, like a certain level quality of repeatability and quality, but there's still danger. There's still danger.
But I feel like,
you know, when those shows come off the tracks, those shows come off the tracks.
Yeah.
And the mainstream theater producer is like, what happened tonight? I was like, well, what happened tonight is 20 people left the theater and bought tickets for tomorrow night because they want to see how it might be different.
Yeah.
Because they saw a disaster.
I also feel like the skill
which is
of the,
brave,
of the,
which is so brave. Yeah,
the skill of the talented improviser is to make a disaster still entertaining. Like, I feel like you coming off of a show and going like, that show didn't go well. The audience, every person might leave and go, that was the most delightful show I saw. But in your mind, you're like, that was not a good show. Like, we have a different, you know, range of like, you know, what is a good show and a bad show.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We're pretty hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do want to say also, like, when I first heard about Blind Date, I was so excited because like my favorite scene to do when I was at Acme was to just grab an audience member and pull them up on stage and do a scene with them. And I feel like so many improvisers didn't understand that format, you know, because it's like it's like you just, because generally like you start to do that scene, and if you just make them look good, the audience loves it. Like because everything the audience member does is delightful. As long as you support them, that scene is going really well. But what will usually happen in those sorts of scenes is the improvisers either get nervous because it's like they don't trust that the audience member will be entertaining, or the scene's going really well and then they all start jumping into the scene to be with the audience member, and it's like, no, just have a couple people, let's tell a story, let's try to see if we can get this person to tell a story. But it almost always would end with every improviser out there like, I'm also interacting with the audience member, and it's like, you know. Anyway.
One of my best learning moments with an audience member when I was developing Blind Date. So we're working out at Loose Moose, and Dennis said, just put your clown nose on. It's also a clown show. Nightmare. I apologize. But you know, Dennis said, just put your clown nose on and go out on stage and you know, just have a scene with an audience member. Just see what happens. Just try a little bit of it. And so I picked this guy kind of at random, in his 40s. And, you know, like 30 seconds into the scene, he said, what's with the clown nose? And he happened to be wearing a necklace with a crystal on it. And so I said, what's with the crystal? And he grabbed the crystal and he held it and he said, it's for protection. And I said, exactly. And then he just nodded and he's like, cool. And then we just continued.
This show's going to go far. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great story.
That's a great start.
Yeah, it was great though. It was really great. Like, but it was great because he got it. He understood it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but listening and reflecting, so good.
Yeah. Okay, we had our 3 scotches.
We did.
Like, are you guys tired? What's happening? Are we going dancing now?
No, we want to do it. We want to keep talking, but we're probably going to have to end the show here because it can't go on forever, right? I mean,
no.
Well, no, but I have at least another half hour.
Oh, we can hang out and drink and talk after the show. Sorry, viewers.
You don't get privy to that.
There's no post-show recording. We turn the
learn
camera
the
off
secrets
so we can talk
that
about real
Rebecca
stuff.
won't talk about on camera.
Yeah.
I again forgot to tell you how the show ends.
How does the show end? Is there like a game show? Is there a vote? Like,
I knew that was happening when we started the show, but
me too. I always forget. Oh well.
That's okay. Put your failures into the world. It makes everybody feel better.
Let's just ask her and see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Ask me.
So
I'm 5'8".
Go.
Oh well, there we go. We're done. That's it.
Is that what you want to know? And I'm a Taurus.
Rebecca.
Yeah. Yes.
After all of this, do you like whiskey?
Oh my God, I fucking love whiskey. Are you kidding? Yeah, you have not deterred me. Were you trying to?
No.
Your experiment has failed. We're gonna make this lady hate whiskey. You failed. No, I love it.
I think that's
But
good enough for me.
Is that good? Good. Here's my grandma's glass.
Cheers, Grandma.
Cheers to Grandma.
Grandma drinks her medicine.